Hey, 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 goodness to you. It's Sporty King. And I always say goodness because I don't know whether you're watching morning, afternoon, or evening, because most people do watch the video. So, goodness. And I always also say, I don't know whether you're watching morning, afternoon, or evening, but isn't it great to have good in front of your salutation whenever it is? Look, we've got less than 2 minutes for today's broadcast. I always like to come on just a little early to give everybody a chance to resettle. You may be doing something already before the broadcast and you might want to attend it live. So I like to shut something down, go get that last sip of water, cup of tea, go to the bathroom, get your drink, get your cocktail. Hey, remember, it's goodness. So we've got less than a minute and a half to go for today's message. Let me know where you're viewing in from, because I'm on a technology called StreamYard and broadcasting live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube simultaneously. And so let me know where you're coming in from so I can click on that shout out and let the other people know, because once you click on from Facebook, for instance, LinkedIn and YouTube won't see your comment, but then I'll click on it and they will, and vice versa, in addition to. All right. So we've got less than a minute for today's message. We got like 30 seconds. So get ready, get ready. Again, even if you're all watching the video, but yeah, all is well. Oh, and in advance, I want to say happy Labor Day weekend. And take some time to Google and see what Labor Day is really all about. It, I think, really talks about how, oh, now I got to re-Google because I wasn't planning on saying, but I know it's about unions. I believe it's about unions and the rights we have. So I'm going to now Google that because I told you to. See, sometimes you have to say something to remind yourself. So it's 11 o'clock now Eastern. So let's hit it. So goodness. And again, I don't know if you're watching morning, afternoon, or evening, but isn't it great to have good in front of your salutation? Welcome to Gift Friday. I created it because so often we hear people say TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. But I say, what allure does Friday have to the person who took their last breath on Thursday? That's why I learned to use what I've learned through Psalm 92 and 2. And that is, it is good to proclaim your unfailing love in the morning, your your faithfulness in the evening. So instead of TGIF, I use TGIT, not thank God it's Thursday, but TGIT, thank God it's today. And then TGIT, thank God it's tonight, because to have the blessing to wake up, go through a whole day and get a chance to go to sleep and do it again. TGIT. Thank God it's today and thank God it's tonight, which then lets me use another inspirational scripture, and that is Matthew 6:34. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Thank God it's tonight. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Thank God it's today. You see, darkness always precedes the light. And then, therefore, we can take TGIF and let's do something different with it. Let's let's recognize that it could also stand for trusting God is free. Think about it. The greatest gift that you get every day, what does it cost you? Doesn't cost you a dime. So let's take that T and TGIF and do some subtraction and addition. Yeah, we'll subtract it from the front and add it to the end, and we get GIFT. God is for today, what we should really be thanking God for. And that's why Gift Friday is the online reading of one of my original poetic poems and messages, and its possible uses to inspire audiences online, in person, and in spirit. Because sometimes we need to read to ourselves to make sure we're in the right state of mind. So let me know where you're viewing in from, okay? Okay, but each poem will then, I'll read it here, and then each poem will be my gift to you. So I'll read it here, and then I'll post it in Facebook, on Facebook, and in LinkedIn after I read the poem, and as well as you have the opportunity to then therefore download your colorful keepsake copy. And then you can click on the link and download it, okay? This week's poem is ideal for reminding you to say an extra blessing towards supporting our educators and how they've had to adjust and get up to speed with virtual learning, as well as, since the pandemic started, but also flash back to our educators from the past. And my bet is that some of them are glad to leave it up to you to give the conduct marks right now. Remember, you used to get the conduct marks? I don't know do they still do that? I know we used to get that at school. The conduct marks, or that can change what your grade marks are. In fact, sometimes it could save it. But this is called Saved by the Bell. And I dedicate it through a group of teachers and educators who you hear about as I read an adapted introduction that's in my book, I Found Out I'm Living, a storyline in poetry about releasing the physical self to affirm the spiritual. So in my book, I don't just write poem after poem. I may have an introduction so you can understand why I wrote that poem. And sometimes it's in groups of poems. In this case, it was a group of 8 poems that I wrote through educators. And so this was the introduction, an adaptation, because I'm updating it based on the fact that I'm reading this to you now. So here's the adaptation. It says, one day, groups of youngsters will silently thank the educators who played such a key role in their lives, but they won't know where to find them. What a blessing I was able to find and reconnect with Mrs. Monroe, Miss and Mrs. Land, both on Facebook. I reconnected with Father Keegan this year at our high school reunion a couple of months ago, last month, July. And through him, I learned of how other teachers were doing. And at the last minute, I quickly decided to try to think of some of my other teachers. So here's a great exercise for you. Put some of your past educators' names in the thread. And I just quickly threw some of them in there. Probably didn't spell all of their names right. So you may recognize some of the names, and you may have had them in your school days also. But I want to tell you, those first 2, Mrs. Klein was my first grade teacher, and Mrs. Nonnenbacker was my second grade teacher. So, and that's how early I remember my teachers' names. You'll see a lot of the FRs, that's the father, because I went to a Jesuit high school. And so I got most of their names from going to the reunion. And obviously that's not as far back in my memory, but I shook that memory tree a little bit. I definitely got some from my elementary school, from my junior high school as well. So what are some teachers' names, some educators' names that you would put in the thread? Okay, but okay, so in my sharing, so through Father Keegan, I learned about how some of the other teachers are doing. Yet in sharing my gift with those who continue in the education field, I thank my past teachers through my appreciation for those who now carry the passion to cultivate young minds. I encourage you to thank a teacher today for the teacher you gave fits and now can appreciate. These next poems are written through the eyes of and finally through today's educators, both teachers and parents. And this is still the introduction in the book. I created the first 5 poems through the use of themes, where I'd give them a theme word and they'd volunteer words for each letter of the theme. I would then enjoy the challenge of using those words to dedicate the poem. Themes used were words, peace, and rich. Today's poem's theme was peace. And here are some of the words that were volunteered: parent, praise, path, pump, patience, proud, public, encourage, empathy, empower, eager, educator, effective, every, even, each, extraordinary, emerging. For the A, assure, ambition, appreciation, accept, actually, average. And for C, child, compassion, class, care, creative, conscious, countless, and can. As you can see, the words didn't necessarily have to have anything to do with one another. And they didn't even have to have anything to do with peace. This is what I call creating a word bank. Some of you may be familiar with how I do that, but that's one way that you can write a poem if you want to start trying to write poetry. Take a theme word, put words for each letter of the word, just random. Let your mind just think and just put words that start with that letter. And maybe put 2 words for each letter. Then decide to start writing your poetry, your poem. By the way, you can do that also on a term paper or any kind of letter. All right. So that's my little secret there. And so, okay. But here's the poem, and it's called Saved by the Bell. Saved by the Bell. Have you ever really been? Or have you wondered if they thought you were? Sometimes the day can go so fast, whether you did or didn't becomes a blur. Yet rest assured that you did encourage a child today. Right now, some parent is praising your name. Your compassion and empathy empowers your class to navigate a path of ambition and fame. Silent appreciation must pump through their veins. Patience repress the urge to scream. An eager child's growth becomes reality because some educator accepted their dream. Powerful four-letter words become five, then six, then seven. The gift of caring creates an inner blush. Stay conscious and proud of your effect on every life, for there are times where you are even their first crush. You see, actually, you are for whom the bell tolls. Of course, if you're the music teacher, maybe cover your ears. And the thanks you get today is but a fraction of the subliminal success you reach each year. For extraordinary engineers, countless cops, average athletes, emerging entrepreneurs, and public politicians are busy being their best because you were yours. Always know that the saving grace of the bell is that it rings in peace to open new doors. And what's going on, Pastor McKinley? Hal, good to see you. King, King. I'll think of something, you know I will. But that's Saved by the Bell. And I highlighted this last stanza, this current stanza, by the way, to show the creativity. As you can see, peace going up, P-E-A-C-E. Yet I'll hope that you rewind, and enjoy the poem again. And here's the line I want to point out for all you educators. And the thanks you get today is but a fraction of the subliminal success that you reach each year. Educators, please remember that your job has always been to get your students to the next level, even though you had visions of seeing them go further. My reminder is not to ask you to lower your expectations, but to take some of the stress off your shoulders that you can continue to teach with the passion and fun that drew you to the profession. Get the fifth graders to sixth grade, not to college. You see, next year you'll get another group of fifth graders and you'll be a year older and wiser, while they'll still only be old enough to be in the fifth grade. And that goes for every grade level. Parents, thank you for your new appreciation of educators. Please continue to support them and remember that they may be parents too. Yet know that they're compassionate human beings who deserve your respect and compassion. And by the way, when I wrote this statement, I'm saying I think that a lot of parents, when the pandemic hit and the children had to be home, I think a lot of parents got a new appreciation for educators. So, but I still want to remind you, parents, that some of the teachers are also parents. So know that they're compassionate human beings who deserve your respect and your compassion. And finally, everyone, have a safe and savvy weekend. And know, a safe and savvy Labor Day weekend. And know that peace, P-E-A-C-E, is placing eternity above chaos and evil. In other words, what you have to do is pray, get out of the way, and get your next testimony. Because you already have a testimony. What's going to be the next one? Always know that the saving grace of the bell is that it rings in peace to open new doors. And always know that Gift Friday reminds you that, oops, I'm going ahead of myself. If you like a copy of the book, you can get it at sportyking.com. Every purchase comes with a free autograph. Meanwhile, I'll be dropping a copy of the poem in the thread on Facebook and LinkedIn. But remember that joy always comes in the morning. Gift Friday. God is for today. And so are you. Thank you. God bless you and have a wonderful weekend. And again, good to see you, my good friend, Pastor McKinley. Hal, always a joy. Glad we got a chance to talk to one another and embrace last week while we were in Vegas. Anybody, even if you're watching on the thread, let me know where you're watching in from, as well as put some of those educators' names in the thread. Okay, like I said, I at the last minute, I quickly threw some in, but think of some that you know and put them in there. And even if you see somebody, because I know a lot of people from where I grew up, going to definitely remember Mr. Marino. He was one of our favorites. Okay, just about everybody had Mr. Marino. But remember I got Mr. Falk in there. Remember, he was our principal. Mr. Manley was one of our principals. So we got a lot of good teachers and a lot of good educators. And so if you're one of the educators who are watching and I didn't add your name, please, thank you. Because I just didn't remember it. As they say, blame it on my whatever that's saying about my heart, not the spirit or whatever. But anyway, God bless you all. Okay, ring the bell and save someone. I like that. Ring the bell and save ones. Yes, save. You are saved by the bell. So ring the bell and save someone. See, sometimes you have to look at things backwards or the other direction. Doesn't have to be backwards. Just the other direction is sometimes the blessing. And so I like that. Ring the bell and save someone, because you have a testimony, and how you live out your testimony will bless someone else. Thank you, Pastor McKinley. You're always on the case. All right, y'all. Over and out. Peace.